Hi, my name is Tony, and I would like to introduce you to two important women in my life. Debbie Ferguson, the best Dairy Queen cake decorator you could ask for, and Sue Miziak, my grandmother from Ohio. The first lady I interviewed is named Debbie Ferguson. I have known Debbie for around 3 years, and I quite enjoy spending my Tuesday mornings at work with her. She's been working at Dairy Queen off and on since 1982. Debbie grew up in Rome, New York, East Jesus Nowhere, surrounded by big Catholic families, and was about a mile away from the closest house. Debbie is the oldest of 6 siblings, the youngest of which she played a part in raising. Debbie always thought that raising children was and would be a woman's greatest challenge in life. While growing up, Debbie only really had one female role model. Her Aunt Olive was a very independent woman who drove a new Mustang and lived on her own in an apartment outside of Syracuse. Being independent and starting a career before settling down and getting married was important to Debbie, but as chance would have it, that wouldn't necessarily be Debbie's path. Debbie went to Western Illinois University, where she got good grades and enjoyed her time in college, but her boyfriend insisted they get married and start their life together. They decided that they would get married and she would go back to school later, but she wound up getting pregnant and investing time into her family and marriage instead of going back to school, which initially upset her, but she wouldn't trade her family for anything. Debbie has been an assistant manager at Dairy Queen for many years and would say that the most important thing for a woman to do in a position of leadership is don't be afraid to stand up and tell the truth, but also know when to keep your mouth shut. You don't always have to express your opinion on everything, which we agreed was the biggest difference between her and a former manager who worked at Dairy Queen. If Debbie could change anything about how women are treated now, it would be that women would earn equal pay for equal work, and men would learn that making unwarranted passes at women is completely not okay, and that every woman, young or old, needs to have more self-respect. It's a hard world out there for women. What's the use of staying with a guy who treats you like shit unless you think you can't do any better? All women need to know that they can do better if they just try. The second lady I interviewed was my step-grandmother, Sue Miziak. I've known Sue for upwards of 15 years. She grew up in Toledo, Ohio, with 2 siblings and her parents. She met her husband Tom in college and had her only child, Stephanie Miziak. They moved to Colorado a couple of years ago. Sue was an English teacher for years and taught at many different schools before her retirement, and worked as a radio host supporting the actions of the public schools in Columbus and throughout Ohio. When she was growing up, Sue felt that a woman's greatest challenge is getting equal pay for equal work and being hit on in the workplace. At one point during her first teaching job, a coworker spread a rumor that she was a lesbian because she turned him down when he asked her out, despite the fact that she was already married. One of the appeals teaching had for her was that teachers, regardless of gender, were paid equally. When Sue was growing up, she had many female role models, from characters on TV like Dale Evans to teachers who were influential to her life. Perhaps the greatest female role model she had was her grandmother, Catherine Duda, who had escaped a very abusive relationship with her stepmother in Poland and came to the United States all alone and started her family. Sue has played many different leadership roles in her life. As a teacher, she felt that it was important to have knowledge about technology to help her students learn, and as a grandmother, making sure my siblings know that sex doesn't define what you're capable of. Bravery, ambition, determination, and not turning down a challenge makes you a leader. If you have a good character, you deserve respect. The chance to interview 2 women in my life was something I didn't realize would be rather important to me. I got to learn more about a woman I have worked with for years and heard her stories while we were just talking in between rushes or bitching about customers. I also got to know more about a very important member of my family and got to hear what it was like for her to grow up. As a guy in 2017, I really don't face many challenges when it comes to gender discrimination. To hear what it was like to grow up as a woman, especially not around the time that I'm growing up, was very eye-opening to me. Women deserve to feel safe, respected, and valued in every aspect of their life, from birth to death. The fact is that that's not the case. But if Debbie or Sue could suggest anything to women now, it would be to get educated, be independent, and live your life with more respect for yourself, because you